1. And there we are.
Hey there. Hello, Mr. Stokes.
Hello, Mr. Albe. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever, wherever you are. This is a live stream on Setting Up Failover via a replica for MySQL. I see we're live on Twitch. Not sure what's going on with YouTube, but we're going to go as we are, and we'll post the recording later. Senor Albe is a support engineer for Percona. I'm a technology evangelist. We've both been around MySQL for many, many, many years. And today we're going to teach you, or he's going to teach you, I'm just going to ask questions, and all about failing over for a replica with MySQL. So,
Yes,
what MySQL version should I be using to do this?
Well, we're going to be using 8.0, and I think, after some 2 years of GA plus, it has become quite a solid version, and it has some quite advanced features for replication. We're not going to be looking into group replication, which is my favorite bit of it, but we're going to be looking at traditional binlog based replication. So it's going to be 8.0 for today.
Okay.
I hope that is what you were planning to use. So shall I start my screen sharing, sir?
Yes, please.
All right, let me do that. Share. And you're going to see the infinite share. Do you see my terminal? Can you see my terminal, David? Oops, I guess so. If you're telling me yes, I cannot hear you. But I hope we can see me.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, I can. All right. Thank you for confirming. So I have here a server that we have been putting together over the last couple of sessions. And I already have the replication bits that you should configure. Let me show you what those are. Basically, I have enabled binary logs. I provided the server with a server ID, and with those two things, you should already be all set for replication. I did add a few more details, like I choose a binlog format to improve reliability of replication. I choose to have a minimal binlog row image, meaning I'm going to save the minimum amount of data possible on those binary logs. I choose to have full durability of the binary logs. This has performance implications and durability implications. Basically, it's telling us how often should we sync the binlogs to disk. This is every one transaction. GTID mode, if I want to use the global transaction IDs or not, I'm going to be using those. And I'm going to enforce consistency of those. My binary logs are going to be rotated every 14 days. Sorry for that. And if this would act as a replica, then replication information will be stored in tables. I have here the intention to set up crash safe replication, and I'm gonna set a slightly larger binlog cache size. And with those, you should be very much ready to run a decent replication setup. So again, I already have my replica running. Sorry, my source running, and I already produced it. I think they might have been purged. Yes. So I will go ahead and set up the replica, which is going to be the whole setup again. I haven't done this yet, so you can actually see me doing it. So in case you missed our first episode, you're gonna have the chance to see how I set up this now. Um, so first of all, I am going to set up the oops. Ah, first of all, set up the repository for Percona packages. Um, Actually, this is also going to install um, the Percona release tool, which allows us to manage the many Percona repositories that we have. We have repositories for Postgres, Mongo, MySQL, for our tools, for extra backup. So this is going to help us manage those repositories. And for example, I'm gonna say so you can see all those are available repositories that you will be able to manage. I'm gonna do Percona release setup PS Percona server 80. Yes, let's do it. Great. So you can see it automatically disabled the MySQL repos, so there are no conflicts. Pretty smart guy. And basically, I'm going to install Percona server shell. Chatted. I think that's it. Server debug info client chatted. Yes, that's it. This will take a second. In the meantime, I'm going to copy the my CNF I have here. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna generate SH region. Yeah. No passphrase, yes sir. Cat ID this pub. And I'm gonna take this guy. Okay, when this guy is done, that's a big package. What? All right, this should be done very soon, I hope. Basically, what I'm doing here is I'm going to create a public key, and I'm going to make it available on the other node as an authorized key. So that is going to allow me to use secure copy. So in case you use secure copy in your servers and you don't know how it magically works, is via keys that are in your .ssh folder. It's good to know. Okay, this is going faster. Come on. All right. So again, I'm going to copy this very quickly just to make sure I have the right. And I'm going to authorize keys. There you go. And I should be able to IP header. Should I be able to do this? Uh-oh, I did something slightly wrong. I added that key for root, and I don't want it for root. I want it for my Rocky user. On a regular setup, I will be worried and I will be removing the key from my root, but not today. So I should be able to yes. Huh, there you go. So now I'm able to secure copy, etc. My F to, and now I can go to my replica and I have my CNF. It's gorgeous. And I can do system L status MySQL. It's a stop it. Great. CNF to home. Okay. MyCNF to etc. MyCNF. It's, and I'm gonna edit it. And I need to do server ID 2345. Right, that's that. Let's make sure this thing comes up. Systemctl start SQL. Come on, come on. Okay. Oh. Trying to access missing table space. What did I did wrong? Looks good.
Looks good. Yep.
That was one strange message. Make sure that was unexpected.
There's always that moment of doubt when you type in system control start.
Say that again.
There's always that moment of hesitation when you type in system
Yeah,
control
yeah.
start.
I hope I can troubleshoot it. I hope I can troubleshoot it. Anyway, it's complaining about some table space. I have to bring in the backup from this guy. I'm going to take a fresh backup on this one. I'm going to copy it to the replica. So, oh, that's taking a long time. Right. Let me... very quickly find the IP address for this guy. Okay. Oops. 8. Started. Oh, I see. So your friend, Mr. Matt Yankovic, he gave me a smaller machine. That's not funny. It's not funny, Matt. Please. It's really, really not funny, Matt. So there you go. That was it. I hope. Okay. Because that data did became corrupt because, of course. Great. Okay. Nobody there. Let me fix. That's funny. Slash. Clock 14.5. So if you are ever at loss of where your MySQL D is sending the log, you can always do this. Check the PID of MySQL D and then in proc/.pid/fd/2. And yeah, this log in there. It's just not doing anything. Okay. -9. We're gone. And MySQL D dash initialize insecure. Sorry for that. Intelligence secure SQL that did.
It's okay, Boo. He knows what he's doing.
He says no. I don't think he knows, but
Well, she tends to make inappropriate comments at the right time. For those folks watching, this is Boo. She's a 7-year-old blackmouth cur and is very opinionated and will talk.
and it's an opinionated MySQL user.
Yes.
What's wrong with this? Wow. Man, there is something really, really wrong here. Okay, I have an empty data directory. I do initialize and secure. It's using my configuration, so it should be fine. Am I missing anything? Perhaps I don't have one. I mean, getting this kind of error during initialization, it's weird. All right. Okay. So it was either that I had still too big of a data directory, of a buffer pool, or NUMA interleave. One of those two things was. What do you say? This should be okay, and this should be okay. Okay. System control start MySQL. It's a weird day today. What's wrong with you? Give him a word. It's a very strange day. Yeah.
Thanks goodness it's Friday.
Kill -15. I've done this a few times. I gave him a word. It should be done like this. All right. I don't know what was the lingering instance in there. That's it. So anyway, I'm gonna have to stop this instance, and I'm gonna bring over a nice backup from here. I'm just gonna take a backup. And target. Just gonna make it. Yeah. Up. So I actually let's try to. Also XP stream. It's gonna take me one more second, but should be worth it. Yum.
So for our home audience, this is making a backup on the source.
Percona release. I'm gonna first set up Percona extra backup here. Percona release. Set up backup. I never remember the name of that repository. PXB. It's PXB or is tools? PXB 80. That's it. Set up PXB 80. Go. Now I can do yum install dash yeah extra backup. Percona extra backup. I also want netcat. It's available just like that. So, see, yum install that. Stop. Right, and I'm going to do the same on the primary. Install NC. Okay. So extra backup, I give it a configuration so it has details like socket and data directory and the location of whatever it requires to take the backup. I say take a backup, use 4 threads, compress it, and stream it as an XV stream. And then I will do netcat to which IP address is this. And I'm going to send it to port. There you go. Oops. Have we done, Marcos? And on the replica, I'm going to mkdir source and see listen on the 9999 and then send to xp stream -x-c source. I think it's -x. I'm pretty sure. So this guy is going to be listening on this port, and it's going to push whatever it takes on this port to XB stream, who is going to extract into this directory. So if everything, and this guy is going to stream and pipe it to this netcat, who is going to push it to that port. And there you go. Bad habits. And on the replica, that's curious. On my best day, obviously. Okay. I'm not sure it's open. Let me do something here. Test. You can do this, and you can do. And it's not open, and that is a problem. So that port is not open. Let me see if systems installed MySQL, and I can try 3306. So this happens a lot on customer setups. Like they have firewalls, if and then we have to use the 3306 port, which tends to be opened by their sysadmins. So, which is what we're going to do here.
Okay.
6. Because MySQL is a stop, I can just run it on there. Should be perfectly fine.
For those who are new to MySQL, that is the default port number for MySQL
Yes.
3.06. So since MySQL isn't running on that machine, we're just going to borrow it for a little while.
Exactly. And now, yeah, you can see it's copying files from the other guy. The biggest the file, the longer it takes to stream, of course. So you might not always see things being pushed. You can always do like this to have some idea of where it's going. Should be done any minute now. Go, so you can see it's growing. Okay, it's done.
Woohoo!
Yep. Yippee. So now I can do extra backup, dash dash decompress, dash dash targeted from source. What you don't like? Oh, look at that. So Kupress is the version of so Kupress is the compression algorithm and program we use to decompress the QP files that are produced by extra backup dash dash compress. The package is available on the EPEL repository, so you have to yum install EPEL release. Yes. I'm sorry for that. Oh man. And now you can install Kupress. Yeah. Extra packages for enterprise Linux. That's EPEL. All right, that is more worrisome. Why not? What provides press provides okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just because it's going to take me less time to from source system. I'm just going to stream it again without compressing because or test. Okay, and let me do this one more time without compression. Shouldn't take much longer, no worries. There you go. And we can so normally this should come from our repos. Oh, Marcos, I know. Percona this setup. Oops. Search. It was in our tools repo. Look, once I enabled okay, I always forget this repo. So it's there in case you have to set it up yourself. Don't give up like I did, and you can just Percona release setup tools. That's going to enable the repo, and then you can successfully find Kupress. So don't be like me. Okay, this is done anyway. That was fairly fast. Now I can do extra backup. There. So once you take an extra backup, the backup is a data directory in a crashed state. And it has all the necessary pieces to bring that crashed instance into a usable instance. And that's the prepare step, what the prepare step does. Target here equals from source. Go. And at this point, the data I have here, this is a perfectly functional data directory. So I can just hit MySQL to var MySQL old, and I can do move. Okay, you can do this. You can do extra backup, copy back. Do it, and then you can do extra backup, copy back, targeted from source. So copy back is going to look into your configuration file, into my CNF, and it's going to find where in your file system the different pieces of the backup should go. So normally you have everything under varlib MySQL, but you could have your redo logs in a separate location, and you could have your system table space in a separate location. You could have your undo logs in a separate location, and so on. And copy back is going to find the location of each of those and move the files into the appropriate locations for your backup, for the restore to work correctly. So what should I like? I do. At least complain of something. Copy backup. Oh, copy back. Jesus. Copy back, not copy backup. Yeah, I'm sorry. Typing and speaking at the same time is not something I do very well. So you can see it's copying the different pieces into the appropriate directories. It's going to take a minute. One thing I have not mentioned about extra backup and MySQL or Percona Server 8.0 is make sure your version of extra backup matches the MySQL version. So if you're using MySQL 8.0.27, make sure you're using extra backup 8.0.27. And because there have been changes in the binary format of the redo log, it is important to have a matching extra backup binary, because again, the redo log format, which is a very important part for extra backup, has been changing over 8.0 versions, and that breaks compatibility of the tool. So again, if you're using extra backup with 8.0, make double sure you're using a matching version for your server.
Now, can I use a later version of extra backup, so like 8.0.2.7 on an 8.0.2.5 without problems?
You should be able to, yes, that so bigger tool version with a smaller server version should work. Okay. If you come to me with a failed backup, and that's set up, I will tell you, please try with a matching version first.
Okay. And by the way, folks, Percona Extra Backup is free and it is open source, and it lets you do hot backups.
One of my favorite tools in the world. I give you my word. Okay, this guy has copied everything in place, but these files are owned by root. That is not good. So chown recursive MySQL or lead MySQL. And if everything is okay, we should be able to do system build start MySQL. Okay, everything is not okay. Error server reporting. Okay. Oh. Should work. That's an old one. That's from 1320. Please remember. Just aborting. Like, I don't like something and I am aborting, but what you don't like? Let me try one more time. I'm just gonna disable set and force. So look, let's see, var log audit. And you can see the guys complaining about me starting the MySQL with, let me see, it's an unset system call. There is some system call that I'm not allowed to run with SE Linux. So I'm just gonna set and force sudo, and you do get and force, and then you start your server and it works. So we do have SE Linux compatibility guidelines. You can find them on our documentation. We might go back in one of the podcasts to security, I assume. So I'm going to save it for that podcast because it's a lengthy presentation. So it worked. Look at that. Of course, I don't have a password. Let me get my password from here. So, oh wow, don't do that. Replica. There you go. chmod 0600 mycnf. So I always tell customers, if someone is reading this file and it can see your password with these permissions, the problem is not on the MySQL security or on having this password here, but something that allowed someone to gain access as root and reach your home directory as root. So, by that time, whether he has the MySQL password or not doesn't make any difference. He's going to have whatever he wants. So it doesn't make
the keys to the car and a full tank of gas at that point.
So this guy is at the same position that the other guy. You can see this, the GTAD sequence is the same as in the primary. So I should be able to do IP address. Very simple setup where I do change to master host equals is master port 3306 master. So I have not yet created a replication user, I guess. So I have to create one. So SQL do create user REPL at if I apply I'm just gonna make it easy because I don't want to forget about it later. In Sandbox 1, 2, 3. I should have known that. Okay, M Sandbox 1, 2, 3. There you go. So I then will grant replication client.
And for those curious folks out there, yes, this is all documented.
Yeah.
So if you're having trouble following, you set up the client for replication or the account for replication, give it the privilege. So if you're like me and want a hard copy or something under the screen while you do this, it's possible.
Okay. And run replication client, master user, REPL, master password, quote, Sandbox. Only because we're going to be using GTAD, we don't need to take care of binary log file and position, which was the old way to set up replication. You will give that coordinate pair as master log file and master log post. But when you're using GTAD, what you will do is you will set the GTAD purge. So in the backup, I brought I have the binary log information. So I will take this. And let me show you. It's going to fail. What I'm going to do is going to fail. You will do set global GTAD purge equals this. Oh, that should not have been the case, because normally, because I still have nothing in the GTAD executed. Usually you have to do reset master, because you cannot set global GTAD purge if you have any GTAD executed. To reset the GTAD executed, you have to reset master. Dangerous. Danger. Removes bin logs. So if you're going to do reset master, make sure you don't need the bin logs on that machine. And then after you do reset master, you do set global GTAD purge, and then you do the change master 2 command we were working on, which I cancel it, and I'm going to have to copy again. So master, once you have the GTAD set, you will go ahead and do master auto position equals 1. And that's pretty much it. Start. Okay. Oops. Don't like. Oh, requires SSL. So I need to copy the keys from this guy. Check if I have any SSL set up on either side. If not, I'll just create a user without that. Cat. Okay, I'm just gonna create a user without it. Enter user REPL at file with I don't remember the name of the plugin password. Just let me get the name from my notes. Just 1 second. Oh, good. I never remember. Let me see. I should have it here. So, show plugins. There you go. Alter user REPL at percent identified by oops. And flash you don't need to actually do flash privileges. You just need to do stop replica, start replica. And oh, that's weird. Why? What am I missing? I know what I'm missing. Grant replication. There you go. So I was missing one privilege. I'm sorry. I always forget to. I only granted replication client. So if I do show databases, now I have only the movie database and all the system stuff. I'm gonna create this Marcos. And it works. Okay, so we have a working replication setup, and we just quickly verify it by creating a table on the primary, and then verifying that it shows up on the replica. Now I'm gonna create a very silly true MySQL -e insert into barcodes example. Sample values. Select now, comma max. Example. Skip. Oh. Work. Right. So let me do it a little bit less verbose. Batch, no headers, execute. There you go. That looks better. So I have a replicate, let's say, client that is sending continuous traffic, which is what you normally will expect on a production server. It's gonna leave this. Let's go to temp traffic log, and I'm gonna send it to the back. So there you go. There you go. It's running. Now, if we wanted to fail over, so we can actually go here and select this example. Now, if we wanted to fail over to the replica now, the replica is an asynchronous replica. So you must think that there is always some inconsistencies. You don't have to rely on, it shows, it shows, I don't know, seconds behind master. Where is it? Oh, good Lord. Here. So, it shows 0. Does that means it's fully up to date and that I can simply move my traffic to this node and be done with it? Well, not truly. The replica, it's always delayed, and it's by its own nature, it must be delayed because things got committed on the source first, then were pushed to the bin log, and the bin log was copied to the replica and then applied on the replica. And laws of physics tell us that must taken some time, and thus the replica is always delayed, at least some little bit. It looks quite up to date. Let's do this. It looks up to date, and there is barely any delay, but I will assume there is always delay. With that in mind, when you're doing an asynchronous failover, there is no such thing as a 0 downtime failover. It's simply not safe. It must be some synchronicity or coalesce time, right? A point where you stop the writes on the source, verify that the replica has every single write that was ever done on the source, and then move the traffic to the replica, not before. Okay, so with that, the traffic continues over there on the background. So what you need to do is, I'm going to open a second connection.
Now, even in ODB cluster, when the primary fails and it switches over, even though they claim low downtime, there is time to, hey, something's gone wrong. I need to switch to the
In
freeway
InnoDB
over.
cluster, in InnoDB cluster, you could actually um, have multi-master setup, right?
Mhm.
And with the multi-master setup, then there's a guarantee of free of conflicts. So you can actually push the writes to the other guy, start writing, and you might get some conflicts. You might say, "Hey, this key is a duplicate. This key, was already committed elsewhere. Roll
Mhm.
back." But um, you can immediately move the traffic there and be sure that you're free of conflicts, which is what you care the most. Because if you introduce a conflict here, you are generating a split brain, and that is the most painful situation you can go into. I believe me, it's better to lose a few hundred commits than introduce a few hundred commits into a split brain, because then you don't know what data is what data, and it could have corrupted, silently corrupted, or make silently introduced inconsistencies in the
Mhm.
data. So split brains are, in my opinion, the worst situation. I think if it was my setup, I would prefer to lose some data rather than introducing an inconsistency like that.
It's more
Um,
expensive to try to fix bad data once it's in the database than to
exactly,
keep it out.
exactly, exactly. So um, the thing is, when you have a virtually synchronous setup like Percona XDB cluster or MySQL InnoDB cluster, then you can immediately fail over in a blind way, relying on the mechanism that will prevent inconsistencies. So you are free of conflicts. You know you're free of conflicts, so you're good. You might get the clients, the application might get some, hey, there's an error here. Uh, this transaction is invalid, retry it, because there was a conflict and it was prevented from introducing a split brain. So in those cases, you can do it. But when it's a synchronous replication, then you can't. Because again, by its own nature, it's always delayed, always. So the right way to do this is, let me create this. Um, let me just very quickly find my IP address. Okay. Right. So I said tail-f temp traffic log. Okay, that guy continues to work. So I'll just set global read only. Global super read only. And this guy, of course, you want to set it to 1, Marcos. 0. So basically, I made the instance read only. This guy should be complaining. So at this point, you're suffering a blackout.
Mhm.
Like the application is not able to do anything, and depending on how your application reaches the MySQL instance, you're going to have to do a bit different things. In my case, I am connecting. I'm doing the absolutely cheapest option, which is connect directly to your MySQL. We're also going to see it's the least convenient of the options. So this guy is now read only, and I can do show master status and check my position. I can go to the replica and do show master status and check that the position is exactly the same. At this point, I know it's safe to move the writes. There will be no inconsistencies if I push the traffic here. So At this point, I will do set global read only equals 0 and super read only equals 0 on the replica, and that will allow traffic to come in. So what do we do with this guy? So if I go ahead and I shut down this, it's gonna disconnect, and finally I will have to come to my application and tell him to um, use a different host, which is again whatever is the replica. I'm not sure I have a valid user to use across the instances. We'll find out very soon. And what? Ah, yeah, access denied. That's it. So let's. You want to make sure your users work. So that's, you can see, important. So let me explain what's happening. I have a root user and I'm using the right password. And if I access through here, I'm using the same password. So why it doesn't work across the nodes? Most likely is because I have a local host or some other host from where user equals root or user equals. Okay, it's only local host. So my root user is only local host. And you can see it's telling me I don't want root from this IP to log in. So MySQL will restrict logins based on the source host. So what we need to do is to either create a separate user or alter this user. I'm going to create a new user. I need the password for that, so I use the same password. So I'm going to do create user root at everywhere, and I'm going to say identified with, I think password, what is it, is SQL connected password by word all privileges. I want to start to semi-root with grant option. So it means that user is going to be able to actually provide grants. Great, that's done, and that guy is able to send traffic again. And that's basically the most important part is block your traffic and make the instance read-only. At that point, the other instance is catching up with the latest bits from replication, right? So you need to take a look, where did you stop it taking traffic? You do that with show master status. You verify your GTAD sequence. And then on the replica, you again run show master status, and you're going to verify that the replica has applied every single transaction. At that point, it's safe to make the replica read-write. So you allow it to take writes. And at that point, you move your traffic to this source, to this writer node, and it should be safe and consistent. So those are like the really important bits. Then normally you will not have your application connected to MySQL directly. you'll have your application connected to Proxy SQL or HA Proxy or MySQL router or some other device. Could be a big IP F5 or some other load balancer that your company uses. And then you will not need to do this kind of restart of the application. The application will always connect to the same IP address, and that device will detect which node is read write and which node is read only, and it's going to push write traffic to the read write. So we're going to be seeing that. We're going to be building up on that on the following podcasts. So continue to join us, and we're going to be looking at Proxy SQL, and probably we're going to be looking at Orchestrator. I'm not sure if Senor Yonkobit has that in his plans, but I will be joyful to show you that. And there's not much more to show. Like, it's a really simple thing. The complicated thing is to get into the mindset of block the traffic, make sure things are consistent, and only then unleash the traffic to the new source. Or perhaps if you're using a proxy, then your proxy is going to be doing it for you. But always block first. Both sides must remain blocked at some point, and that is the important part. Both sides must remain blocked at some point to guarantee consistency of the data sets before you move write traffic to the replica. At this point, what is left to do is to make sure this guy is not going to come up as a writer. So I'm going to add if only equals 0 and super read only equals sorry, again, I'm doing the same. So now if this gets restarted, it's oh, I'm not editing as roots, sorry. So if this instance now gets restarted, it will not be taking writes.
You don't want your old primary coming up and saying, "Hey, I'm primary still," and
exactly.
And all your old work.
There is one more step you can do, and depending, different people does different things with this, which is this guy is still a replica, right? It's not able to connect, whatever, but this guy is still a replica. And if this guy comes back and it had stray writes, I don't want those writes to ever reach this node. So what you want to do is I will do is I will take a snapshot of this show slave status, and I will do stop replica. And so there is no chance. Set replica all. And now it's empty. So this is preventing this guy from taking writes from a source that was not intended to be a source, because this guy is the source now. So some people have master active passive setups. So that people usually will leave the replica setup in place and just flip the roles. That's also perfectly valid. You just got to be more careful. That's it. It's like, this is a matter of being careful and making sure the writes only ever go to a node that is fully consistent. Once a node is fully consistent, push the writes onto that one and make sure the other guy doesn't get writes. So only one node at a time can ever get writes. And before it gets writes, it must be fully consistent. Those are basically the rules. And that's it. I now have nothing else to show. unless people on our stream have questions, or you have any questions for me.
No, I don't see any questions on YouTube. We did have some problems with the YouTube feed originally, but now we got it going. And let's see. So we are now doing well. So folks, if you have any questions, comments, or any topics you want us to cover, please let me know. I'm at Stoker on Twitter, david.stokes@percona.com. And we'd love to have any feedback you have. And big round of applause to Marcos for going through the ring of fire today to be able to
it was an interesting setup today. Like,
yes.
So I haven't lost my troubleshooting skills, at least.
Yeah, well, you showed them off to great applause today from me. I mean, for folks who've never done a live demo before, this is why I don't do live demos at conferences. Whatever will happen does happen.
Everything.
And then in the middle of that, they'll run a fire alarm, and you have to clear the building and come back. But thank you for tuning in, and a big round of applause again to Marcos. And we'll see you for the next edition. Have a good day, folks.
Have a good day, everybody. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.